Hi everybody, and welcome to Dopey FixIt.
This is Dopey FixIt. These aren't pro tips, they're amateur tips. They're for people with no experience whatsoever, like me. Join me as I figure out how to do the little fix-its that my home needs, and maybe yours does too.
This week we're going to be putting together a patio set that we just recently got for the new house. The new house came with this beautiful awning that you see in the background, and it's great weather, but we didn't have a patio table and chairs. We didn't have a patio where we came from. We had to order a new patio set, and the new patio set arrived, the chairs anyway, this morning, and so I thought I'd show you the process, how it works, and what I learn as I go along here. On this side, you see we have the bottom and the back. You can pull that out of there. These are the two sides, right and left. It's really easy. The bottom goes between the two limbs, and then the back goes between the two limbs, and it all comes together. It's just this very simple box. So this should be a super easy project, right? Okay, here you see the chair rail, right? Attached to, or not attached to, but gonna be attached to the bottom with these two bolts. So you see those holes in the seat bottom and the leg of the table. The holes line up exactly on top of each other. They do this from time to time to make sure that you get the right side. If you look at these, the holes are very misaligned, so you can tell that this side is wrong. That's how you know to flip it. It's not real obvious until you've done a few of these, so it's the company's way of kind of helping you debug your chair building here. You know, if something doesn't quite fit, try the other side, flip it around and see, because oftentimes that's the error, and you don't want that. You also want to make sure on this piece, since it could go either way, you want to make sure that the seat side is up and not the underside. You wouldn't screw this in under, you wouldn't have it hang. You want it to strap on. Now each one of these is going to go down in one of these holes. So this is what one of those little bolts that goes in. I put it in what's called finger tight. Finger tight is as tight as you can make it with just your fingers, not using a tool. So you get that one, and you basically leave it a little loose. You don't want it to be too very tight because there may be some play. I'm wiggling it back and forth. I'm trying to find the little hole that it goes in. Once you feel it engage, once you feel it stop, you can then go ahead and use your fingers to just kind of screw it in, make sure that it's not catching with anything else. Now those are finger tight. Now what we're going to do is we're going to get the Allen wrench and finish the job. Allen wrench is this goofy little hexagonal L-shaped thing that they give you in every piece of furniture, and you go, what the hell's that? So you just kind of, there's a hexagonal head here and a hexagonal drive, and you basically just stick it in there and turn it. Basically just stick it in there like that, and with the larger torque arm you can turn it. That's great, but it's pretty tedious taking it out and putting it in every single time. This is pretty tedious right here. So a couple of tricks with this: make sure you make them finger tight all the time right away, and then go at it with the tool, because otherwise you're gonna be sitting here with the tool trying to figure out which is the alignment for the hexagonal head and which isn't. Another tip that we got here for the Allen wrench: a lot of people in high school say they'll never use geometry again, but this is six-fold rotational symmetry. So the kind of thing that you'd see in geometry class. And so is the fact that this is six-fold symmetry, you've got you think of it as a circle around here, and you can turn it 1/3 of the circle with this thing, and it's left in the same orientation. So you'd see like a 120 degree angle here, another 120 degree angle there. If you were to rotate this 120 degrees, like that, now it'll be in the same orientation it was, and so you can just put it back in at the same orientation, take it up. This makes it a little easier, because otherwise it's kind of hard to find that in that symmetry where you are. If you've got a starting point and it's the same every time, it becomes pretty easy to go back and forth. So kids, again, this is a perfect use for geometry. and allows you to really get those screws tight. Now, usually finger tight means it goes all the way to where it needs to go, but what'll happen occasionally, it doesn't quite, when you finger tighten it, the farthest it'll go still leaves it, you know, a 1/4 inch or 1/8 of an inch off of where it needs to go, and that, I think it usually means that the screws kind of misformed. But one thing it could mean is that you've got too much pressure in a certain angle on the thing. So one of the things that helps is to sort of wiggle the chair back and forth. You know, make sure that the other one is loose enough to allow. That's why I say only go finger tight. Make sure the other one's loose enough to allow for some play here. And oftentimes that'll let it sink in a little bit more. If it doesn't, I tend to think that that's something wrong with the screw, and that means I'm going to have to just put a little more force on it with the Allen wrench. And as I say, if you have to turn a number of times, use that 120-degree technique. Then you get a hole like this one sometimes, where it's not the fault of the bolt, but as you can see here, what's going on is something inside that this hole here is flattening the screws, and they go in and they go in tight. But the problem is, when I put this bolt in, it still's got about 1/8 of an inch clearance at the top, and so what I think I can do is maybe I can cut the end of this bolt off. So it'll try to do a little bit better by shaving this down. I don't want to go too much, but if you feel that it's in and it's bolted and it can't go anywhere, I don't necessarily feel that harms the integrity of the chair. Although if you do come to my house, consider it Russian roulette. So this screw's been through the ringer. As you can see on all sides, it's got some grinding. I was really trying to get rid of that 1/8 of an inch off the end of it, see if we could get this down to sink totally into the screw hole as far as it'll go and hold the chair in place. I don't want it to be loose when people sit down on it. So I tried to jigsaw with a metal blade, and that didn't work out so well. It kept slipping from the vise, and that felt a little too dangerous for me. So what I did was I just went with the old hacksaw and put it in there, and it got done pretty good. So those are the tips that I've got for you today. Dealing with the hex head bolts and the Allen wrenches is often kind of tedious. You often can't get a screwdriver in there. You often can't get a drill in there. That's why it's so narrow. But I wish the ends of these were like maybe tapered a little bit, so you could kind of slide it in and twist it as you go to get in there easier. That's one of the most tedious parts. I do have an automatic screwdriver, you know, a little just nothing huge that I was going to use on this project, but it turns out it wasn't charged. So that's the last tip I can offer you this week, is make sure that if you're going to do a job, you know ahead of time what tools you need. Think ahead. If you've got a big flat pack coming and you know it's coming with one of these, charge your cordless. It can only charge your cordless automatic. It can only help the project out and speed it along. See, Nicole discovered something while we were stuffing these chairs. I mean, this part's pretty easy, right? You've got just a pocket, got a pillow. You got to put the pillow in the pocket, kind of smush it in a little bit, and it kind of goes right in. So that's pretty good. That's not so bad. Bottom one here, you can see it's a pretty thick piece of foam, pretty sturdy. It's got some thicker foam in the middle. This is clearly the part you're going to sit on. The first thing you do is you look at this and go, well, you don't want to bend it because it's so sturdy. You don't want to pre-crease it, but really that's kind of what she discovered you have to do. You kind of got to get it between your legs, and it's as she points out, it's a full body workout just to get it in the bag. You want the edges lined up just like we got here, and then what happens is you get the corners in. Now they're all super form fitted, so it's designed to be tight. Don't worry about that. It's designed to be that way. It's not that it's not going to fit. It's going to fit. It's just going to fit like a second skin. And so what they tell you to do is, hold this bit closed. You're trying to keep the tension off the zipper because it could spring apart and the zipper could break. So you hold it closed as you go and keep the tension on it so the zipper doesn't have too much on it. You get it almost all the way, and then you can kind of just zip it up to the end, and it's all good. So hopefully that helps you out, because it wasn't really obvious up front that that's what we would have to do to the seat covers. This is another thing that comes in kind of handy when you're dealing with stuffing pillows into pillowcases. Essentially, it's always this tag thing. If you end up with your hand anywhere near the entrance to the pillowcase, you end up touching this tag and it's wrinkly and it makes it kind of a gross sound. So always stuff it in first, unless you like that sort of thing, in which case, no judgment, but it should go in, for me, tag first. So this is what the chair looks like at the end of the day. It's really easy to build, but there's all those little tricky bits that I found and maybe you found too. We don't have the table yet, but that's all the chairs done, stuffed and fluffed to the best of our abilities. Thanks for watching Dopey FixIt. I hope you guys learned something today. I know I did. On to the next project.
Done, on to the next one, done, and I'm on to the next one, done, and I'm on to the next one, done, and I'm on to the next one.
So that's me for this week. That's what I got out of bolting together one of these chairs. So I hope you enjoy it. This is, like I said, the first of, I hope, many, because I've got a lot of projects to work on, a lot of things to work out, a lot of updates to do, a lot of things to fix, and I don't know what I'm doing, and probably you don't too. So if you're watching this channel, this hopefully will be a help to you, and if not, well, that's okay too. If you have a better way to do some of the things, if you have a tip that counters mine, if there's something I missed, please feel free to leave it in the comments description below. I would love to hear from you and have this idea of just regular folks fixing their stuff at home to the best of their ability. Give you some tips as I go. Hopefully that will help some of you uber noobs, who don't have the great equipment and that sort of thing to work on with me. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. See you guys all next time on Dopey FixIt.